make a Dijon Tarragon dressing using a ball jar, okay? So into the ball jar, the first thing we're gonna add in like 2 to 3 tablespoons of Dijon mustard. Here we are, because that's basically the center stage, followed by some sherry vinegar. I'm gonna add just about a teaspoon of that. I'm gonna add like 1.5 tablespoons of extra virgin olive oil, about 1 tablespoon of tarragon. I like to use dried for this. You can use fresh, feel free to use fresh. There. We're gonna go in with just about a 1/2 teaspoon of honey, because we can always add more at the end. There we go. It's gonna help to balance out the acidity. Nice couple pinches of salt. Give it a little crank of pep. There. And now, take that lid, put it on top, and then start shaking. You might find after you're done shaking it for a bit that your honey has kind of settled down at the bottom. That's an easy remedy to fix. What you're gonna do is unscrew your lid, ta-da, and then you're gonna take your spoon, one of your spoons, and you're simply gonna go down and scrape the sides. We'll scrape the lid off too. And you really wanna get down around the bottom of that jar. Scrape those sides down. That's where all the love's at. The honey's gonna be there to help balance out the acidity of both the white wine that's in the Dijon mustard and from the vinegar. I'm gonna scrape up that lid because that's where some of the flavor's at as well. We don't wanna waste it. Okay, so now we're gonna taste it and see if that Dijon's starting to shine through, okay? Is it balanced out between the acidity and the honey? Tasting pretty good. Ooh, a little bright. So I'm gonna add just a touch more honey. A little bear. Just a touch. I'm really not getting a ton of tarragon, so I'm gonna add just a little bit more of that. And I need it to be a little bit thinner, so I'm gonna add in just a touch more oil. And of course salt to help everything shine through. And instead of screwing on the lid, we're just gonna stir it up. Really get that nice and combined. And then we're gonna taste it again. Get my tasting spoon, get it in there. Perfect. Okay, Dijon Tarragon dressing. Remember to, again, scrape down your sides. Scrape down your sides and scrape down the lid. Okay? Okay, so there you have it. Dijon Tarragon dressing. And we're gonna put this off to the side. Now we're gonna set up our mise en place for the rest of this dish. First things first, we're gonna start to take the tails off our shrimp. We've purchased peeled, deveined 2630 shrimp. We're gonna do this by holding the shrimp in one hand, and in the opposite hand, we're gonna take our thumb and run it right along this spine. Once you find the spine, you're gonna press it, crack it, pull it, and release. And we're gonna drop the shrimp into another bowl where we're gonna toss it with garlic, salt, and pepper. Once you've broken down all of your shrimp, you're simply going to get rid of all of the tails, wash your hands, and then you're going to add in 1 to 2 cloves of garlic, already minced, some salt, Give it a crack of pepper. And then you're gonna toss it all together. Once you have it all tossed together, you're then going to set it off to the side. Prep our kale. This happens to be lacinato kale or dinosaur kale. It doesn't matter what you want to use. You don't have to use kale. You can actually use spinach. One of the easiest ways to go about cleaning spinach with actually just your hands is you want to hold it by the rib. Hold it midpoint on the leaf. And with the other hand, you can actually take it, make a little rip, like so. Put it in between your thumb and your index finger and then thread it. It should come off in your hand exactly like it just did here. Turn it around, hold it by the rib again, creating a little loop around the leaf. Just pull and it should come off like that. I'll show you again. Holding it by the rib, midpoint, you're just gonna tear the leaf, okay? Tear it in half. Put put it in between your thumb and your index finger, nice and loose, not too tight, and just gently pull. And you can do that, you should be doing that with both the lacinato kale and with curly leaf kale, whatever your desire, okay? Once you have that all done, we'll then stack it and we will chiffonade the kale. Now that we're at our last leaf, we're gonna just break that down. And now we're going to stack the leaves. While that might seem like a tedious task, it's actually really important when it comes to chiffonading your kale. Yes, it's an actual words. Basically, that mean the rough translation in French means we're going to make all these kale leaves into rags. Once you've stacked up about 5 or 6 leaves together, largest being first, smallest being last, we're then going to chop it. So I'm just layering it on top of one another, the elongated way, okay? And I'm gonna make little piles. Once I have all of my piles set up, I'm then gonna start the chopping process. Starting with the largest leaf here, I'm just gonna start stacking all of the little leaves on top of it. There, that's actually a nice little pile right there. So I'm gonna start with that one. I'll move my other piles off to the side, and now I'm gonna grab my knife. Now, we're basically going to make this into a pile of rags. And set it off into a bowl. With this hand, the hand that's going to be holding them, I'm gonna hold my fingers like this, so your thumb and your pinky don't get in the way. You wanna curl them behind your 3 fingertips. You're basically going to have them grab and bind behind the pile, the leaves. With your knife, you're gonna be holding it tightly around the blade, and you're simply going to nosedive and lay it down. You're going to make cuts very close to one another, very small cuts, not large pieces. We're gonna make really small pieces and essentially cut all of the kale leaves into rags. See, nice small pieces. We get those off into the bowl and we pull the next set of leaves up. Again, curling our fingers together, letting our thumb and our pinky come close and hold it together. We're then going to nosedive that knife onto the other side of the leaves and cut through. Making nice little rags out of the kale. Okay, and into a bowl. and you just keep going on. So I'm almost done with my kale. And the next thing that I have to cut will be my scallions. So now I'm gonna take my kale and push that off. And now I'm gonna bring in my scallions. This leaf is really dead, so I'm just gonna tear it off and get rid of it. The rest of these are looking really healthy. This can come off too. I'm gonna trim the ends here because I don't need this white part. I just simply want these greens. So now I'm going to cut these on the bias. You can actually cut them any way you want. I like to cut them in elongated fashion. And then I'll put them into a little side dish and finish the dish with the scallions. Right after I cut these and put them into a bowl, I'm gonna rinse the can of beans. I'm not gonna add these because they're kind of dead. Round these up and put them into another side dish. Et voila, and now this will go off to the side. I've got my shrimp, I have my kale, I have my bacon crumbles that I purchased. I have my white beans, scallions, and last but not least, of course, my extra virgin olive oil. Add your 1 tablespoon of olive oil, allowing that to heat up. Once that's sufficiently heated and it's been rotated around the pan, that's when we're going, for about 30 seconds, we're going to go in with all of our shrimp. And get it laid out nice and flat. And we're gonna cook it until that side turns pink. And then we're going to go in with our kale. 45 seconds, you should start to noticing it turn pink, as you can see here. That side's getting pink. And we're gonna start to flip them over. Once they're all turned over, that's when we're gonna go in with our kale. And because the kale's chopped up nice and small, we'll go in with our beans and toss the beans around so they get coated with some of the bacon fat and the flavor from the garlic and the shrimp. And that's it. You just want to cook it until that shrimp and that kale have cooked through. You know your bacon's done and the white beans are already cooked. You can now just right into the same pan, spoon out enough Dijon dressing to coat all of the shrimp and the kale mixture. You can just start tossing it around. You can add more if you'd like, but a little bit goes a long way. The Dijon Tarragon dressing, you might have noticed, is very strong. But the whole point in making it strong is so that it cuts through the fatty and the rich flavor of the bacon and of the shrimp itself. So once that's all tossed and everything's coated, you can now portion it out into a bowl, top off with your scallions, and enjoy. Now we'll start to portion out your shrimp and your kale mixture into a bowl or onto a plate. I happen to like high-sided bowls. And there you have it. Get that on there. Sprinkle a little bit of scallion on there. Give it a nice little contrast in color. And voila. There you have it. Your shrimp, your Dijon Tarragon shrimp salad.